ho già cominciato, quindi possiamo già. So we're here in a studio, in an artist studio, and we see some drawings on a table and on the wall, framed drawings on the wall, and this is the artist we're meeting today.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Now, can you introduce yourself with a camera? What is your name?
My name is Christian Niccoli. I come from Italy and I live in Berlin since 2002.
2002.
Yeah. I'm a filmmaker mainly, but I also do drawings since a year. Or let's say I always did drawings, but recently more professionally, more on another level, let's say.
I'm going to take a seat now so that
sure.
we get to know a little bit more about you.
Yes.
So, first of all, what we see here on the drawings are also yours, and later we will be watching some of the visual arts and videos and films that you've actually shot. But it all starts from here. This is your starting point.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, sure.
And this is what you're currently working on.
Yes, so to say. I mean, drawing is part or became part of my expression. It was for many years. It was my drawings were very. Can you see the difference between a drawing like this and a drawing like this?
Right.
This one is very much of a sketch.
Yes.
Or primarily a sketch. In fact, this book is called Sketchbook.
Oh,
you know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, partially, or let's say, a few drawings actually were already sort of drawings, how can you say that, as a piece of as an artwork.
Right.
But actually, I wouldn't have called them artworks. They were expressions of one creative expression of myself.
Right.
And meanwhile, it became something like this. You know, you see the difference. One was just a sketch, and this one is a piece.
Absolutely.
A piece that can also go into a show.
Right.
And previously, or let's say before, I never showed. I never exhibited my drawings. I did them mainly for myself.
Yes. And this is how you started. Was that your first, the way you got into making art, sketching? Maybe on a notepad as a kid?
You see this pile of here. These are all sketchbooks.
Oh.
Which I collected from the period I was at the Academy of Arts.
Wow.
In order not to forget, you know, these are like old video installations or sketches for the video installations that I did many years ago.
That's amazing.
Or blah, 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 blah. I mean, I did a lot of stuff.
Sure,
over the
yes,
years.
of course. I see from the German writing that you studied art in Germany.
No. I studied because I will get to that and explain you a little bit better. Actually, yes, I write in German.
All right.
But this is why because I come from an area in which both German and English, both German and Italian are the let's say the official languages. And
Trentino. Yeah.
Yes, Südtirol.
Right.
And I learned German from my mom.
Oh.
Italian from my father. So, but actually, for me, the language which is more clear is German.
I see.
Particularly when I write.
Uh-huh.
Because for some reason, German to me is more. Well,
just natural.
Not natural. It's more clear. I think it's more. It's like it's the yeah. It's more clear, particularly when I write something, let's say, towards a new idea. When I develop something, writing in German is much. To me, it's much more. It functions better.
I see.
And here, for example, this a few years ago. You see, I keep all these sketchbooks.
Yeah.
In order not to forget old ideas.
I see.
Because you never know. Maybe one day you won't have any good ideas anymore.
That's
and so
interesting.
It's always important to let's say to collect each even stupid ideas, but just write them down because you never know what happens or what will happen.
That sounds like good advice. I should learn to do that.
This advice I didn't discover that. It was a person who told me this about 10 years ago. A very famous curator, by the way.
Who?
I cannot tell.
You can't tell me.
But yes, he said, look, if I can give you a good advice for the future, collect everything or write down everything bumps into your mind. Because you never know, at a certain point you might have difficulty to develop other different ideas or new ideas.
Yes.
Because that's very often in the career of an artist who is working day by day and for years and years and years that or every creative person. So to get sure that you're not going to forget anything, I draw everything. Mainly draw. Sometimes I describe with words, but mainly I draw. And this is the step that I did in the last year with drawing, with my drawing, exactly. It came to another level. This is not a sketch. This is a piece.
Yes.
You see a food becoming a finger, or for example, this one. I actually did this drawing like this for a former girlfriend of mine, because she didn't know what to do in her life, and for her birthday my present was this anchor, and the anchor is, let's say, like lying on the floor, and the balloon is fixed on the anchor. But as it fixed on the anchor, it will never fly away. So that's the metaphor. And then at a certain point, last year, I drew again the same, let's say,
the same piece.
The same piece, and casually I turned the paper, and it became the anchor became flying.
That's right.
And the balloon is the anchor,
The weight.
The weight, exactly, keeping the anchor.
That is
So you
interesting.
see the difference between such a drawing and such a drawing.
That's right.
This is more a piece that tells you a story within this paper, and this is more like a thought fixed with. Let's say this is a thought. I would say it's an emotion or a thought, simply sketched. It's a simply sketched idea without an aesthetic.
Yeah.
And what happened in the last year, my drawings became, or I developed an aesthetic. Let's say I'm still developing an aesthetic. For example, this piece here. Just to look at another example. What is this? This is actually some weeks ago I had very strong headaches, and I felt my head very heavy.
Yeah.
And one day I did this drawing. You see, so it's myself with this kind of a candle thing on my head.
Yeah.
And then a few days later, I thought maybe this could be an interesting idea to develop also as a drawing. And then I thought, but it's not my head, but it's. And I came to the football. So it became a football with this kind of Jewish. How do you say this in English?
A chandelier. Chandelier. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's an interesting. So it's the origins of the idea. You just try to get it out quickly out of your head as soon as you can, and then you think about it. You develop it.
I develop because as I draw almost daily. I always have a sketchbook with me. You know, this is the same sketchbook as the pile over there.
Okay, yeah. When is your earliest sketchbook from?
Late 90s.
Late 90s, okay.
For example, you see this guy with this weight, this, how do you say, sollevatore di pesi?
Yeah, weightlifter.
Weightlifter, exactly. This one became this one. But it's just the other way around, so he's standing on the weight.
Yeah.
And this one became, if you look on your back, this is the second drawing.
All right. This is definitely developed a lot more.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
This is a starting point. This is just a starting point, and then often I keep on, as I said, I keep on. Well, I don't have other examples now to show you, but no, not really. Anyhow, or for example, this one is also a similar idea somehow. It is. Now, I don't know the English word for that. Incudine.
I can't think of it either, but
You don't have it either.
it's another weight. It's another
exactly.
heavy thing.
It's still the topic of this heavy head.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I thought, of course, if you have this object, you need something to smash on it, which in theory should be a hammer.
Right.
And then I made the same drawing with the hammer, and I thought to myself, maybe it's boring with the hammer. So I went in the internet and I was looking for other objects that smash somehow, and I came to the ping pong rackets, exactly. And I thought this could be an interesting combination because the two objects don't have anything to do with each other.
That's right. That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
I know what you mean. But what? So this is the theme of weight is interesting. Why are you so drawn to it?
That's a very complex question. I mean, there are a few topics in my work that show up regularly.
Right.
One is weight.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is balance. Weight balance. For example, I'll show you something.
Right.
This is an old piece. No, it's from 2011. And it is a video installation I shot
Video installations being one of the things, the size of your creativity, like you were saying earlier, an expression of your creativity.
Yes, sure. I would say it's the main film and video installation, but mainly film. Look. It's fine. Doesn't matter. No, it matters. Because I would like to show you some making of, I think, which it gives a lot an idea of
Absolutely.
of well, you see the titles all in German.
Yes. German is your language.
My creative language, yes.
Your creative language, yes.
So this is actually the film itself. Should be the film. Exactly. Here we go. It's a group of people, 5 people, who balance on this circus, how to call it, circus object.
Right.
Actually, this object is made for 1 or maximum 2 people in the circus.
Yes.
And I did it for 5 people because I wanted to make this balance thing more extreme, of course.
Yeah.
And you see, it's the same picture. So this is the upside of the image, and this is the downside of the image.
That's very interesting.
And
Is that how you would be exhibiting it, side by side?
That's how it is exhibited. Yeah.
Okay.
I exhibit it quite often, so it's always the same thing. And it is. Now I'll show you. It was like this. Actually, I organized the same shooting with, because my first idea was to have extras who move like in front and behind the group.
Right.
Who pass by.
Yeah.
And so we did an entire choreography, which at the end we didn't use. Because we noticed that it's working better without this choreography. So it was a nice and sunny day. And the goal of the group was to be able to stand on this thing for minimum about 1 minute.
Which is not easy.
Which is not easy at all. It was a long process to come to this day.
Yeah.
Because I had first to find the people, then to construct this thing, which was one of the most, that was really not easy, because we did it with many different materials. For example, this one. See?
That was the prototype.
Exactly, that was one of the prototypes, the first prototypes, but we noticed that it breaks.
Right.
Then I found a guy who's a set designer or let's say product designer, and he they did a kind of a model for this one, and then we found the right kind of wood, which is strong but also light, and we cut it together in a certain way, and then we screwed all thing, and it became extremely stable and extremely light.
There's a lot of work behind it.
A lot of work behind it, exactly. So to go back to the thing of the balance, it's a topic that
reoccurs in your work.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think that is?
Because I'm always on the way. I'm always trying to keep in balance.
Yeah.
Basically, and it's. I think it's something that is very you experience very often in artists. Not only myself, but I see it in many colleagues. It's this balance between creativity and surviving.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, yeah.
Very well what I mean, I guess.
I have problems with balance myself in everything, so.
And this aspect, I think this aspect influences a lot your life, your lifestyle, your way of thinking, and your way of behaving and how you feel inside, in my view.
Yes.
Because it means that it affects you a lot. I don't have a real job in that sense.
I know, yeah, I understand that.
You know what I mean, I guess. And so the aspect, for example, look at those two drawings, in the two middle ones.
Right.
You see, there's a person with this fork and knife legs. Of course, if you have fork and knife legs, you cannot really walk. You're always you're always unstable.
That's right.
Somehow, yeah.
That's right.
So metaphorically, it always comes out this situation. I cannot tell you why.
I understand.
It is like this. That's it.
There is no clear division between work and life like a lot of other people have. Do you think that maybe being an artist is also an act of self-destruction?
Sure.
Yes?
Yes.
Are you aware of that?
But I think, yes, I am. But it's also an act I think it's a very intense way of living.
Yeah.
I really believe so. Yeah.
It's the most intense, especially.
I wouldn't say it's the most intense. I say that it's a very intense way of living, which means and the main thing is that it's the way how you look at the world, which is different, in my view. Every single individual has a sensibility for things. But what artists do, they have the sensibility connected with a visual thing.
Yes.
Or a musical thing, depending on your personality, of course. In my case, it's a visual thing, which means if I see something, I can develop an idea out of what I see. For example, many years ago, I did. Once I was visiting a friend of mine here in Berlin, and then I was cycling back. It was summertime, and she lived at that time in Prenzlauer Berg, and there's like a kind of I was cycling home basically. And while I was cycling home, I said to myself, it's kind of crazy. Berlin, I was very young at that time, huh?
Right.
Berlin is kind of, I imagine the city as a huge bathtub full of people, and each person with a floating tire. So no one dies in the water. Everyone kind of stays there. I wouldn't describe Berlin now in that way, but at that time it was an image. Tac, you know? So at a certain point it was already there as an image.
Sure.
And this became this image. Now I'll show you. This became this image. You see? So basically, what I did was I reconstructed in terms of film the image that I had that evening while I was cycling home.
I see.
Years later.
How many years later?
A few. 5, 6 years later. But you see that it's the same image.
I
it's
see
not
it,
the bathtub, but it became the sea.
It's
but
the sea.
Actually, that's the picture.
I wanted to ask you, because I've watched some of your other works in your website, I feel there's a presence of water in a lot of your works too. Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't know. I don't know. No, I don't. I cannot tell you.
Yeah.
I can't tell you.
You were saying that you...
I would like to add something.
Of course.
To this intuition thing,
Yeah.
because it's a clue point. Well, we just finished this new piece, shot in stop motion, and more or less 2 years ago, I had really, out of the sudden, I had this image of something that is happening in a certain way. And something is happening in a certain way. And I was looking for a picture that could tell a certain feeling. And I was drawing, making storyboards, and nothing worked. And at a certain point, really, out of the sudden, this picture came. Now we developed it in stop motion, so it's not my...
Stop motion animation, yes.
Exactly. It's not my usual filmic.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a dead end, and then this figure comes, and jumps on the other side and disappears. And that's the clue moment of this film.
Yes.
The intuition for this jump, I had at a certain point. I had this picture as we see it now.
Yes.
And the noise of the steps of this person who is running.
Okay.
And then the person running, passing by, like passing the camera, and jumping on the other side.
So sound is also important in this work.
In some works, it's very important.
Right.
In this one, it's very important because there's nothing much happening.
Yes.
You know. So this is kind of an experiment compared, for example, to the previous film, which didn't need any kind of sound design. The sound design was the place itself.
Oh, yes.
You know, this storm and
yeah.
and
I saw this one.
saw this.
Yeah.
In this case, this is a series of films I'm working on since a while now, basically, it is the story of a person who knows to have God on his side.
Okay.
I
God.
would say.
Religion comes into it. Spirituality.
Yeah, it's a big aspect in my work also, I would say. So we see him doing this prostration, which is something very radical, very
Right.
extreme. Generally, people don't do it. Me neither.
Yes.
And I imagined a person who is doing this by himself, alone, at night, during the storm. And it's somehow an unspectacular work, because it's a story of this guy, and that's it. It's a story of an extreme, of a very extreme gesture, I would say.
A very extreme act of faith, maybe.
Act of faith, of course.
Why is religion and spirituality such a big part of your work, do you feel? Does it have something to do with the balance, the theme of balance, or are they unrelated?
I'm not so religious.
Uh-huh.
I'm not so religious, but I have a strong spirituality, I would say.
Yeah.
At least I'm interested in all this stuff since many years. I would say since, when you read as a student, when you read like Totem and Taboo of Freud, this intriguous things about tribes, about animism. I was always very, very, very interested in that stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's so weird, because it's so different from Catholicism.
Yes.
But also Catholicism can be very interesting in my view, in some aspects.
Absolutely. Can I ask you, do you feel that you have a spiritual relationship to art, with art?
In some pieces I would say so, yes.
Some pieces.
Also as a spectator. Because, for example, there are many examples. I'm trying to find one. I always felt very attracted by romanticism. I think this is one of the most crazy and spectacular paintings I know. It is here in Berlin, at Altes Museum.
Okay.
And this painting, it exists in a few variations. It's made by Arnulf Böcklin, who was a German romantic painter. It seems that it was the favorite painting by Adolf Hitler, and it represents this island, which is where there's just this kind of just a few trees, and that's it. And this ship, which is
Crossing through it.
Yeah.
Passing through the...
Moving towards the island.
Right.
So that's it. And every time I see it or I saw it a few times at Altes Museum, it's really spiritual. Very spiritual.
What is the name of this painting?
I think it's Island of the Death.
Okay.
In English, it must be Island of the Death. Yeah.
And you feel a spiritual connection to it.
I would say so. Yes.
Why do you think that when did you decide to become an artist, and why did you decide to become an artist? Was it just a natural thing for you to do? Because I think for some people it's hard.
It was a natural thing for me to do, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was actually the only thing that I could do.
Okay. Fair.
I mean, or the only thing that I could do with such a passion.
Right. And was it difficult to make that decision or no?
Look, while I was studying, no, because you are in this kind of shelter, you know, the academy is a shelter.
Yes.
When you dropped out of the Academy of Arts, and you have to see how to actually really doing this stuff. That was kind of the first like smash in my face, and I actually it took me a while. It took me about a year to understand where I want to go.
Right.
And Berlin helped me a lot in that.
Yeah.
Because there were few things that came together. First of all, I studied 2 years in Florence, 1.5 in Milan, and half a year in Vienna. So I spent the entire period of the Academy of Arts never being somewhere stably. And I was looking for a stable place. Somehow, I was very young. I was 25 years old, so I was very young, and I didn't really have a master plan, and for some reason, I decided to stay in Berlin, and casually, I would say, you know, when you decide to choose this path, you have to take a decision at a certain point. You can't be maybe yes, maybe no, maybe yes, maybe no, because it's a radical decision.
Absolutely.
Which means not doing many other things. And I think, well, to me it was like this. When I moved to Berlin, I noticed that I'm not good enough, or that was my impression, and I thought to give up, not to go this way. Then at a certain point, I got invited by a curator who I was already working with before to participate in a group show, and I had to do a new production for that show.
Right.
So I developed a piece, which is actually this one. I developed a piece and I shot. It was the first shooting, so to say, in Berlin. Which is this one. These are two friends of mine.
Oh, right.
And we shot it in Charlottenburg in a park. You know, and while I was shooting this, I mean, it was just an afternoon, you know, but I had to think who is dressed how, blah, 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 what kind of light, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
In that month, I decided that this is the path for me.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is a particularly...
This piece, not because of this piece, but because of the atmosphere that I felt in myself while I was doing it.
I see.
This was the turning point. And I was 25, 26 years old, and I decided, okay, I want to go that way.
Okay.
Or I will go that way.
Right. You mentioned that at a certain point you have to make a decision, and it's a radical decision.
Yeah. I think so.
And we talked about self-destruction before.
Yeah.
What do you think that you gave up a lot of things as well by taking this radical decision that you sometimes miss?
Stability.
Stability. That's why. That's why that's such an important aspect of your work.
Probably.
Okay. I want to pick up on something else that you said earlier about your work is always evolving, something like that. You're always developing your work. Now it seems like you have started, or maybe correct me if I'm wrong on this, to work with stop motion animation. Mm-hmm. Right. How do you find that, and why did you decide to?
Well, stop motion was not a choice.
I see.
Stop motion was a solution in this case. I wanted to shoot the piece, a real pole vulture. It was too expensive. Mm. It was very expensive.
Yeah.
And maybe with, I don't know, a sponsor like Nike or Red Bull or Adidas,
yeah,
it would have been possible. But the thing was quite simple. Either not doing it or doing it or trying to make the best out of the stop motion solution.
Yes, yes.
There was no other choice.
I see.
I would say. And even within, let's say the option stop motion, actually I was very lucky because I casually bumped into an old friend from Italy who told me, look, but you know that we do stop motion animations. And I never thought about stop motion, of course.
Right.
And then we can show you some making of, which is always interesting to see. Mm-hmm. And then we started. No, I came to Dan. I met his colleagues. There are 3 people.
Yeah.
And I felt a good vibe, let's say. And my small budgets, I said, look, guys, I have this. I don't have more.
Yeah.
Could it be possible to find a solution that for you it's okay and for me it's okay?
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we will think about it, we will let you know. And then they said, okay, we will do it. At the end, they totally miscalculated their hours. They worked too much.
It happens.
It happens. So anyhow, look, at the end they did. I did just the how to say, I did the direction, which means I said I would like to have here a window, here it is, here a bicycle, here a motorcycle, here it is. The light should be like this. You know, as a film director, at the end, it's not so different.
Exactly.
With the difference that, with the big difference that when you make stop motion, you shoot only once. You have just one take.
Right, right.
You have just one take. So look, this is the LA. It's a model, of course. Uh-huh. And then we have this crane, which stays on a dolly, and so we had to pan. We could pan, or they could pan within the LA and create this kind of very slow motion. So this is exactly. This is the figure.
Yes. Of the jump.
Exactly, it's a puppet, of course.
Uh-huh.
And you see all these details. I asked them to put them. I would like to have some kind of posters here and the window here, and then we have the how to say the floor should be, the ground should be kind of
unkept.
Yes, a bit
full of holes, uneven.
Full of holes and also a little bit wet.
Right.
Kind of wet.
which makes the whole thing look even more uncomfortable.
Exactly. I wanted to have a really uncomfortable place.
Yeah.
You see, so that's the with the point of view within the LA.
Hmm.
Exactly, that's the figure again, and it's actually it's fixed on this stick in order to move it like picture moving, picture moving, picture moving.
You need a lot of patience.
A lot of patience.
Yeah.
It took a lot of time to shoot it. Yes, and now we're done, finally. But actually, what was initially we did. I found a guy, actually a nice guy. I mean, a sporty, cool guy, who was, so to say, the dummy for the jump itself.
Oh.
So we copied him.
I see.
We copied exactly the same
Movements, yeah.
and also the point of view.
Ah. Interesting.
Yeah. So this was in this it's a place a little bit outside of Berlin where this where this training and stuff. And before we actually tried, and that was one of the first examples that we shot. This could be a possibility, for example, to shoot it in real. But you see the problem of the main problem of a real shooting of a scene like this is that we would need to make a hole in the ground and to put this kind of aluminium stuff where the pole is,
Yeah.
You cannot just jump like this, but it has to enter like this kind of hole. And
Yes.
all I should let it construct by somebody.
Exactly.
This costs a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of money, and it's one of those shootings that are not so simple to control because many things could go wrong. Actually, for him it could be also very dangerous because he actually jumps over a wooden thing.
Yeah.
So that's why at the end I decided to make stop motion.
Stop motion, yes.
Yeah, that's it.
So it was a solution, yeah.
Yeah, it was a solution. It was not that I always dreamed of making a stop motion.
Yeah, but now you can also do that, so it's another thing that you can do. You have in your repertoire.
Yeah, sure.
I know that we're running out of time and you're busy today, but I just wanted to ask another question. We've seen here your drawings, and we've seen some of your videos and your stop motion animation. Obviously, the main obvious difference between the two is that one is still and the other one is motion.
Yes.
So, but you still feel the need to express both sides. What do you feel? Why do you feel that? Is there something that you can achieve that you can't achieve? Let's say with a painting, something you can't achieve with motion, and the other way around.
I think that there are ideas that work only as drawings for me, and then there are other ideas that work only as films. With ideas, I mean a visual sensation that you translate into a picture. For example, a few weeks ago I was cycling, and next to me behind me a guy was cycling also, and he was singing a song. And I heard the song that he was singing, and I recognized the song, and I also started to for myself, like I don't know, something that everyone knows. I don't know, like bolero, fravel, something like that. Huh?
Right.
So I kept on singing, and then we were just in front of the cross lights, and I stopped, and he kept on cycling, and then in that moment I said, it could be nice. Now I could keep on singing the song, and then I go somewhere else, and someone else is hearing me singing and making. So it's kind of a
Yes.
kind of how do you call it? Kind of yeah, like different stories of different people connected by the one thing that they're singing.
Yes.
This song, which keeps on going.
Yes.
So this idea, just to make an example, is a film idea. You will never explain it with drawings.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I
And
do.
then there are other things that other, let's say, observations. For instance, the how do you say again in English?
The weight.
The weight.
Weightlifter.
Lifter, exactly. The weightlifter. I cannot explain this with film. How? How should you explain it? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't tell anything. If
Exactly.
you explain it with film. So you can explain it only with drawing. So it depends by the drawing, by the emotion that you're trying to deliver.
Right.
To the viewer, because the viewer at the end is also I mean, as I said, some ideas work as films, some ideas don't work as films at all, even if you think that it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But then at the end you talk to a DOP, and the DOP will tell you, I don't know if we can shoot it. Will someone understand it? Well, maybe yes. Maybe. You know, then you recognize that maybe you're on the wrong path,
Right.
thinking that this could be a film idea.
Yeah.
And in my career, we had a few occasions in which I had developed a film idea, and my DOP said, doesn't work as a film.
Yeah. What do you do when he says that? When the DOP says that?
I don't do the film.
Oh, you don't. So you take that into consideration.
I take that very, very seriously.
Okay.
Because if you work with someone who knows your films and who says, look, it doesn't work, then I think that it really doesn't.
Right.
Because at the end, it's also, you know, it's a DOP for an artist who works with film is a kind of how do you say? It's your eye. It's the longer. It's like your own eye, but longer.
I know.
Somehow. It's an extension of your eye.
Yeah.
Really? No, believe me.
It's
an
a good
extension of your eye.
It's a good. I've never heard anyone say it that way, but it makes sense. What about the spectator, or the viewer, or someone who interacts with your works of art? Is there anything that you expect of them, or do you listen to their feedback?
Yes, I always do.
Okay.
I always do. I'm always very curious to see how the reaction is.
Yeah.
Particularly in my film works, I would say more than in the drawings.
Okay.
Because the film works at the end, you know, when you spend a year and a half, 2 years, like trying to finish a piece, you're very curious to see if it works or not.
Mm-hmm.
And the best is to see somebody else who watches the film.
Yeah.
I think it gives you it gives you a very direct feedback. What you did well and what you did wrong.
Yes. What about fellow members of the art community? Do you listen to their feedback too?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly colleagues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything about the art community that frustrates you?
A lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
frustrating stuff in the art world, I would say.
We will leave it at that then. We won't go deeper. Because
it
would take too long.
discussion.
Christian, it was such a pleasure to meet you and get to know your works a little bit more. So
Thanks for having me.
maybe we will meet again and see how your work has developed.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.